Hey people, it is Sunday, July the 14th. The time is 8:41 in the evening and it is a muggy 26 Celsius, feeling more like the mid-30s with the humidex. I'm in Cabbagetown at the corner of Parliament Street and Spruce Street. But I'm going to head off of the main commercial strip here and head into the residential portion of Old Cabbagetown, and I thought I'd take a walk up and down and all around this historic neighborhood, and we'll just take a look at some of the lovely homes and maybe explore some sort of more off the beaten path parts of the neighborhood. There are many little laneways and narrow hidden streets crisscrossing Old Cabbagetown. And I'll also keep an eye out for the little plaques in front of many of the homes, which indicate that at one time a famous person lived in that home. Lots of well-known personalities in the history of Toronto and in Canada have called Cabbagetown home. The neighborhood is mainly characterized by 19th century brick row houses and old workers' cottages, sort of densely packed together. And with its lush greenery also. And it's also an extremely highly desired neighborhood, and the real estate prices reflect that. There's one of the laneways. And I waited until a bit later in the day for the sun to start going down before I made my way through the neighborhood. It was a very hot and sunny day today. There's actually a heat warning in effect for the city of Toronto. It might actually be a bit hard to get a look at some of the homes with all the trees in the neighborhood. Obviously, lots of street trees are a good thing, but they do tend to hide some of the architecture. This is a fairly typical Old Cabbagetown row house. This area was settled in the 19th century, mainly by Irish immigrants who grew cabbages in their front yards, as the legend goes, giving the neighborhood its name. And there's all sorts of different styles of homes in the neighborhood. Some are huge, some are quite small. Most are attached in some portion, in some way or another, but there are a number of fully detached homes as well. Those, of course, are the most desired and most expensive ones. Here's one right here with an awesome front garden. And there are some old apartment buildings, not too many though in the neighborhood. And this is sort of like the furthest east neighborhood in downtown Toronto. The Don Valley is just on the other side of the neighborhood to the east. There's also a park, Riverdale Park West, and an old cemetery, one of the oldest cemeteries in the city. And it's a very family-friendly neighborhood. It really goes all out during the holiday seasons, whether it be Halloween or Christmas. The whole neighborhood really brings out the festive atmosphere with the decorations. It's always a fun neighborhood to walk around, particularly on Halloween. Got a school here. Try not to have my keys jingling in my pocket as I walk along. It seems to be an ongoing struggle lately. In a quiet neighborhood like this, it's much easier to hear things jingling in my pocket than it would be on a noisier street. I'm literally like repositioning the keys. It's like, stop jingling. Here's an awesome building. Just south of Cabbagetown is the Regent Park neighborhood. If you look to the south, you can actually see some of the tall residential buildings of Regent Park peeking between the trees. That's Gerrard Street to the south. And this is Sumac Street, so we'll take a walk north here along, I think, most of the length of Sumac Street. I think I conquered the jingling key problem. Kind of tempted just to walk in the middle of the street instead of on the sidewalks. Better way to get a look at both sides of the street. This is quite the old complex here. It's just a big apartment building, a cooperative apartment building. Spruce Court Cooperative. I find the east side of downtown tends to have quite a few of these co-ops, much more than in the west side. You can see some of the downtown skyline looking to the west. It's only about a 15 to 20 minute walk to find yourself surrounded by the tall towers. And to the financial district, which you can see over there, it's maybe 35-minute walk. So not too far at all, really. Here is Carlton Street and Riverdale Park West. I'll come back to the park and to this stretch of Carlton later. We'll keep heading north up Sumac. Some beautiful semi-detached homes. Oh, here's one of these historical little plaques. Murray Laufer, innovative stage designer and artist. Lived there from 1929 to 2021. I'm not sure which side. It's a semi-detached. Or maybe that's from the time he was born till the time he died. Maybe he didn't live there in that time period. That's more likely. That's quite a long time to live in one place, but it's possible, I suppose. Lots of the homes dispense with the traditional lawn and do this sort of thing instead, which I think looks quite nice. If they want a big grassy expanse, they can just go right across the street to the park. This home must cost a fortune. And here's a spot to get some ice cream and snacks, burgers, fries. They often have little neighborhood festivals set up in the park over here. And the Riverdale Zoo is also right over there. It's a little, sort of like a farm petting zoo type thing, which is very popular with families and kids. And there's the necropolis, which is maybe the oldest cemetery in the city. Many notable people are buried there, including Joseph Bloor, the namesake of Bloor Street. I tried to find his grave in there for a video. It was a Halloween-themed video because his old photograph from the 19th century is downright terrifying. June Rollins, activist and leader, first woman mayor of Toronto. So I take it that's her birth and death date. So she lived there for some period of time.
Oh, yes. You did actually. Honestly,
Here's another one. Fraser Mustard, MD, medical pioneer and champion of early learning. And the dates are obscured by all the leaves. 1920 something was the birth date. And some of the homes do buck the usual look of the neighborhood. I think I do prefer the old traditional brick look though to the homes. And I'm a big fan of ivy growing on the sides of the old homes as well. Take off my sunglasses. It's getting a bit dark. Yeah, the greenery in this neighborhood is pretty impressive. Like this house is almost completely blocked. These homes aren't quite as fancy looking, but certainly historic. There's another laneway. Some of the laneways, as I mentioned, have homes hidden inside them. And we're coming to the end of Sumac Street. This is where it meets Wellesley Street East. This is sort of the easternmost leg of Wellesley Street. It ends just right up ahead at the park, Wellesley Park, I think it's called. Heading west along Wellesley.
Everyone that I had like long-term relationships or whatever lived in like Starmount. Right. So all of my time.
There are also these little homes sort of hidden in these dead ends, really, where if you walk down there, you have to kind of turn around and come back the same way. So I usually don't try to walk down those during a video tour, trying not to repeat the same places twice if I can help it. I might have to overlap maybe a portion of one street in this walk. Here's another one, Wellesley Avenue, no exit. There are some old row houses heading up that way. There's another one where there is a way out. It takes you through a neat little hidden area. Some great townhouses here. I suppose row houses. I think the difference between a row house and a townhouse is row houses usually are all uniform and all the connected units look the same as one another, whereas a townhouse can be connected in the same way as a row house, but they often look different from one another. Toronto has mostly townhouses then, if you use that description. So they are attached housing. But they sort of mix up the designs, I find, in most of Toronto's old housing stock. You do see occasional, more traditional row houses though. Mostly the bay and gable style. Well, they'll all be identical to one another. These are mostly the same, other than some cosmetic differences. But then near the end here, it does change it up a bit. This one's nice. All right, so this is Sackville Place. I'll take us through a neat little hidden away street. And we do have some nice ivy-covered homes here, and there are some more traditional row houses over here. I've always admired these ones. Painted different colors, but obviously all pretty much the same as one another. And it's just a dead end here, but there is a way out. I don't think I've ever walked right to the end before. And this is Alpha Avenue. It's just a little stub with some row houses. And you can see one of the apartment towers of St. Jamestown looming to the west. That'd be a pretty cool street to live on. I live on Alpha Avenue. Not sure where Eddy Lane goes. Maybe you can take that over and connect to another lane. I haven't explored that way yet, but this is the way I was planning to go. It just looks like a pretty standard laneway here. It's called Wellesley Place, or Wellesley Cottages. And cottages, you say? Why do they say Wellesley Cottages? Well, because there are little cottages hidden in here. They're mostly connected together, but at least one on the end there was a fully detached little cottage. Looks like the one on this end is also detached. And I guess they have their own little parking here. And then you have to walk through this little pathway. If you didn't know this was here, you might not know that you could just continue on over here. And I just saw a bunny rabbit. Look at that. Hello, hello bugs. What's up, Doc? What's up, Doc? He's not even afraid. Oh, there he goes. What's up? Well, I won't leave him. I'll leave the bunny be. Maybe he has somewhere to go. And these are quite nice. The bunny sniffing things. And we emerge back out onto Wellesley Street. Oof, there's some bugs flying around. All the trees and greenery here. This is nice. And Parliament Street is just right over there. Some nice homes here. These are more cottage style homes. It's quite the change from one side of Parliament Street to the other. The massive towers on that side. All right, let's take a walk down this laneway. This is Iroquois Lane, and that is Jeffreys Lane. These are the back sides of commercial buildings fronting onto Parliament Street. I think this is Amelia Street we've emerged onto. That's quite nice. Some rather large bay and gable row houses on that side, but on the other side you have these small cottage style homes again. Yeah, the bugs are really starting to come out now. The sun is setting. And this is Metcalfe Street. See the street signs say Cabbagetown Heritage Conservation District. Hopefully it doesn't get too dark to not be able to see anything. I might have to cut the video short if that happens. I think the light at this time is quite nice though. There's some very classic bay and gables there. That highly pitched, peaked roof is a very Toronto thing. This is, I think, my favorite intersection in Old Cabbagetown right here, Winchester and Metcalfe. One of the few sort of old walk-up apartment buildings, large ones. We saw one earlier, the co-op one. I'm not sure if this is also a co-op. Air ambulance, I think, heading overhead. Oh, you can see it's getting dark enough for the lights and the Aura condominium to light up. And I wanted to walk through at least one of these narrow laneway streets. So this is Millington. Just has sort of a cement surface here, more like a laneway, but a pretty substantial amount of homes in here. Got some apartments. It's definitely getting a little darker now in these laneways. There's not a whole lot of street lighting on the main streets in the neighborhood either, though. This is Sackville Street. And now Millington Street becomes Sackville Place here. You can imagine in the fall during Halloween time, though, the atmosphere in this neighborhood is really awesome. It's probably the best Halloween neighborhood in the city, as I mentioned before. And I see a family of raccoons. First we saw a bunny rabbit, and now some raccoons. What will we see next? Hopefully not a dingus. We don't want any wild Cabbagetown dinguses in this video. Oh, I hear another critter over there, probably another raccoon. This is Bowman, heading south. And the moon looks to be chopped in half right now. And I think this will take us out onto Carlton Street. So since it's starting to get a bit on the dark side, I might start heading back towards the bright lights of Parliament Street as we take a walk along Carlton, heading west. My plan was to walk the other way and take a walk through Riverdale Park West, but I think I'm going to alter those plans. I did walk past Riverdale Park West, though, earlier in the video along Sumac Street, so we still got to look at it. Some nice row houses. I think row houses and townhouses are my favorite form of urban vernacular, especially the historic type. Not as much a fan of the modern ones. But the 19th century row houses and townhouses, they definitely are the type of place that I could see myself living in, if not in a very tall residential tower. I think that would be my next favorite type of housing to live in the city, especially the ones that front directly onto the street. Most of the homes here do have a front yard, even if many of them don't have lawns. But there are some other neighborhoods in the city with old, dense townhouses or row houses that aren't as bucolic as Cabbagetown here, and they do front directly onto the street where you step off of your front steps directly onto the sidewalk. You can hear my keys jingling again. I haven't been keeping an eye out for these, but here's another one. Sarah Ann Curzon, early women's rights activist, playwright, author, popularized Laura Secord as a Canadian heroine in 1833 to 1898. That goes to show you how old this neighborhood is. And we're going to emerge onto Parliament Street. So I didn't cover as much of the neighborhood as I was planning to. I probably should have come out a little bit earlier to catch a little bit more daylight, but I think we covered quite a bit of the nicer areas I did want to show. And some of those hidden streets and laneways. This is a laneway called Broadcast Lane. It's also mainly the backsides of commercial buildings fronting onto Parliament Street, but there are some homes tucked in there as well, including one where Avril Lavigne lived. I don't think she has a plaque, though, on that location yet. Maybe not enough time has gone by. Maybe in another 30 or 50 years, they'll put up a plaque there for Avril Lavigne. But I think this is where I will wrap up the walk through Old Cabbagetown on a very muggy Sunday evening. We covered a fair number of streets in the old historic neighborhood on the east side of downtown. And I have enough time to make a stop at the local No Frills, which is my least favorite grocery store in the neighborhood, but nevertheless, I am going to head in there. It's a bit to the south, so we'll get a look at a bit of the action here on Parliament Street on a Sunday night in July. And I think here it is. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my tour of Old Cabbagetown. Leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. or not. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And also make sure you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description where you can do so via PayPal as well as via my merch store. Or you can also support the channel by becoming a channel member or by sending a super thanks if you prefer. And you can find me on Instagram under KContinuum. So thanks for watching, and thanks to all the channel members. And be sure to keep checking back because, as always, I will continue